Okay, I'd like to welcome you to this fourth part of tonight's Opportunity Zone meetups. We've been talking about cash exits. That is, how does an investor get their money out of an investment after the 10-year period when they've maximized their investments? And Benjamin, in the last part, has shared information on ecoponics and several different projects in opportunity zones where it may be possible to add indoor ag as an economic development component and to address local food needs. So in the remaining part of tonight's overall program, we're going to talk a little bit about cash exits that might exist with regard to ecoponics, and we'll see what we can come up with here to do that. To aid that, I've put up a few questions here. That's me on the left, me at the table on the left, Benjamin on the right. Otherwise, I would have sat in a different chair tonight, but that's okay. First off, Benjamin, when you're looking at ecoponics raising money from opportunity zones, have you yet got to the question of how do you get a cash exit out of this?
Actually, we have from early on in our financial engineering and looking at the equity ownership aspect as a common equity, is a pure preferred equity, is a debt, then cash flowing the revenue streams after expenses. How do we distribute the revenue, the net income to the investor? So under our model with a preferred shareholder concept, it carries a fixed interest like your 8%. So what we've modeled is deferring while we're ramping up production of the food system, because this is farming 101, if you will. You put seed in the ground. We don't use soil.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into arguments over water versus soil. But I'm going to skip that for the moment. So basically, what you're intending is to create a sinking fund where the cash, as it's earned, is put into the fund over time. So were you planning to distribute cash throughout the life of the 10-year term?
In pre-opportunity zone financial engineering, so we were looking to defer distribution until achieving positive cash flow, and then going forward according to the accumulated interest and the equity ownership, if you will, then cash would be distributed as ordinary income with an exit scenario of a sale in year 8. I mean, I've got a whole financial model I could show you in more simplistic terms.
So in this case, you simply are going to extend the model by a couple years so that you get the full tax incentive. But at that time, you still were planning to sell off the entire operation to create a cash exit for everybody.
Is it a 6x multiple? Is it 8x? We don't know. Well, can we find a buyer? If we're doing public-private partnership and we have public money, or let's say we have public bond money, industrial revenue bonds first. So we've even talked about selling that asset back to the public as a public resource for community benefit.
Well, yeah, and so that gets to the next question is, you're talking about a greenhouse that's producing food locally, and if anything in the paper, anything about climate change is telling us that we're going to need to produce more food indoors, that the demand for local food production is going to go up, it would seem that greenhouses are almost one of the best opportunity zone investments a person could make, with an expectation that the market is going to be far better in 10 years than it is today. I have friends who are telling me the world's going to end in 12 years, so I'm not sure if that's going to make for a good opportunity zone investment if I can't spend the money on the backside. But there are a number of people, I will say the more pessimistic people, who are predicting annual decreases in productivity in outside agriculture, which raises the potential need and justification for moving as much of the produce production indoors. And so the life of the greenhouse is, the building is about 20 years, is typically what I allow for in my models. The equipment may have to be replaced at the end of 10 years. So you may have another capital demand at the end of 10, and that may need to be factored into this particular business model. But overall, it seems like you're in the right place with several trends that will all make the market better in 10 years than it is today.
As you know, meeting you and I sat in with Christy Pollock, the Economic Development Director of Jefferson County. She said this is low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
That represents the best, most immediate opportunity for meaningful activity, capital investment in opportunity zones. But, show me the money.
Yes. So that brings us to our last question for tonight's program, and that is, based on everything you've done so far, and you've spent years in economic modeling and engineering modeling, what else can you think of that would reduce any risk that an investor in an opportunity zone fund might have if they were to put that money towards one or more of these projects that you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Fundamental question in assessing risk. The technical risk, we believe, has been taken out of the equation, but it requires discipline, on-site management. There are skills necessary, but there's enough experience and knowledge to mitigate the production side of it. But the financial market risk, we believe, that's why I illustrated the slide, food waste to fresh food. So if we lock in the circular economy where the food buyer is providing input to its own supply chain, then why would they go elsewhere?
Well, that's an excellent presentation. Too often in agricultural projects, the market's undefined, the buyer is not identified, there is no long-term commitment. And in this case, you have the ability to work a multiple tiered relationship with your customer, the restaurants and the people and groceries and even the schools who are buying your food, and go, if you'll give us the waste back, this can help reduce your cost of food. So you're getting better food and you're reducing the waste at the same time. And that's building a relationship, as you say, it makes it far more competitive. So who else is going to push you out of that relationship?
Right. Hasn't been done yet, and I'm speaking from experience, spent a lot of time in Europe that's way ahead of us. You can see our activity in the Netherlands. We've been serious about it. We've looked at their models from public-private education. We're trying to bring the best ideas from around the world. We're not limited to the Netherlands, but fundamentally, we're still creating these new enterprises that take risk capital and public support that we have yet to really see money where their mouth is. Everyone talked about localization, sustainability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but show me the money.
Yeah, so I think the last observation I'll make on that is by adding the innovation center as a component of your project, that's going to keep your technology fresh, state-of-the-art. It'll help you drive efficiencies as you get better and better at bringing these systems together. So I think that's one of the, yeah, you can take that. But I think we're going to see this with a lot of these projects as people start having to look long term in this investment. They're going to start asking the question, what can be done? And I need to put something in place. Doing something that boosts the local economy and keeps you basically competitive from a technical standpoint would seem to be one of the major ways to de-risk a project.
I will add the one thought that's somewhat troubling, but it's a trend in our economy. But the move to robotics and automation is clearly now taking a foothold in indoor growing. In fact, one of my university colleagues who also was at Santa Fe is doing a total robotic 20-acre 4 greenhouse complex with a processing center with Finnish technology. We know a cannabis grower with an Indian tribe, the Acuna tribe in New Mexico, that raised EB-5 money, new market tax credit money, is all robotic. So what the evidence I've seen is that it takes the labor cost, which is the highest, fixed cost in production, and it's putting it down. But the jobs that are left over are all high-paying, skilled, trained laborers, but it's like 10 to 1.
Yeah, but I think that's another good point that a lot of people are talking about, well, how do you go indoors? You almost have to automate it because there just isn't the labor available to do it. And creating more low-paying jobs is not actually contributing to the local economy. So that's another point, is that automation may also make a difference here in the longevity of the project.
Very expensive.
On the
From
front,
a high-tech
on the front end.
$40 a square foot is now $100 a square foot.
Yeah, I've seen higher numbers, so we'll see on that. Well, thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you for being on the program, Benjamin. This is the end of part 4 of tonight's program on Opportunity Zone Meetups. Hope to see you at our next meeting.
Thank you all.